Now, we can cross to Tel Aviv and speak to France 24's Claire Paccalin. Claire, we are an hour into the ceasefire. Bring us up to date with the information you're getting.
Just to correct you, I'm actually in Jerusalem this morning, but I was in Tel Aviv yesterday, on Thursday, speaking to family members of hostages in an area that's become known as Hostages Plaza. It's basically a campaign point and a point of grieving, of moments of families of hostages who come together, pray together, sing together, speak to each other. And we spoke to some family members of hostages who say this really has been a very emotional time for them in the last few days, as this truce, this temporary ceasefire and the exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners was supposed to come into force yesterday on Thursday, and it was delayed by a day. So, of course, they tell me that they were optimistic. They have to be optimistic. They have no other choice but to be hopeful that this really will happen this afternoon, that they will see their loved ones again. What we know is the Israeli government has informed the families of those 13 hostages who are set to be released today, all women and children. So those families have been informed. And of course, the other families, we know there could be up to 240 Israeli hostages in Gaza right now. That number, though, of course, is not exact because we don't know how many are still alive today. The other family members, they have also been informed by Israeli liaison officers that their family members will not be part of that first group who are set to be released today. And, of course, Palestinian families as well out there waiting, hoping to see their loved ones again released from Israeli jails.
Claire, the first time in nearly 7 weeks, and a fragile ceasefire as well. We have Hamas releasing a statement saying its finger's still on the trigger. You have Israel saying that, quote, Hamas has a questionable history of ceasefires in the past, so very little trust between the two.
Certainly very little trust between the two, but then a lot is at stake here. We have to think about, with hostage negotiations, what is the interest of both parties? We know that for the Israelis, their interest here, what their priorities is getting those hostages released. There's been a lot of pressure put on the Israeli government by the family members of those hostages at Hostages Plaza, which is in Tel Aviv, where I was yesterday, pressuring their government to get their loved ones released. So that's where the Israeli government's standing. Getting those hostages and bringing them back home is one of their top priorities. When it comes to Hamas, of course, well, there's the release of Palestinian prisoners, but of course their interest is having a pause in the fighting so that they can take a breather and also, we assume, reposition their fighters. So there is a lot at stake here. So yes, there's not a lot of trust between the two parties, but both parties also have a strong interest in making sure this deal goes ahead.
Claire will be with you through the day. Claire Paccalin, our reporter in Jerusalem.